President-elect and Vice President-elect have been conducted around the presidential villa on a tour in anticipation of their moving into what would soon become their home and office. And the Supreme Court dismissed the PDP suit, saying that they are medicine interloper. And the suit seeking to stop Monday inauguration has also been thrown out. Hello everyone, welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Wakimale in Abuja. The Supreme Court has dismissed a suit by the People's Democratic Party PDP challenging the alleged double nomination of Kashim Shettima, the Vice President-elect. The Apex Court agrees with the lower courts that the PDP lacks the local standard to institute such a case. Justice Adamu Jauro, who read the judgment, noted that the PDP acted as medicine interloper and a busybody, as it is an internal affair of the APC. A sum of 2 million naira was awarded against the PDP, even as the suit was dismissed for lacking a merit. The justices further held that the attitude of the appellant and the PDP amounts to misleading the court, describing the move as sad. Meanwhile, in another lawsuit, this time around in a lower court, the Federal High Court in Abuja, the court dismissed a suit seeking to stop the swearing-in of Bola Tinubu, the candidate of the APC, and the president-elect as Nigeria's president on Monday. The suit, the plaintiffs who are Mr. Praise, Isaiah, Paul Audu, and Anongu Moses, alleged that Tinubu lied on oath in his Form EC-9 that he was not a citizen of another country. They also alleged that the president-elect lied on oath about his age. They argued that Tinubu's action was in gross violation of Section 117 of the Criminal Code Act, as well as Section 156 of the Penal Code Act. Consequently, the plaintiffs prayed the court to order that Tinubu be arrested, detained, and prevented from being sworn in, pending the determination of the cases before the Presidential Election Petition Court. They equally prayed the court to ban Tinubu from vying for any elective position for the next 10 years. However, in his ruling, Justice James Omotosho, who is the presiding judge, held that the suit was unconstitutional, frivolous, and vexatious, adding that the plaintiffs lacked the local standard, which is the legal right to institute the action, stripping the court of the jurisdiction to entertain the suit. Justice Omotosho held that the suit was an abuse of court process and a waste of judicial time. He added that the suit was in bad faith and aimed at to expose the ridicule the judiciary. The judge said that the court would not lend itself to be used as an instrument to destabilize the country. He said it is only the Presidential Election Petition Court that has the jurisdiction to hear the suit. And let's tell you that the federal government has today launched the national carrier, the Nigeria Air. The first Nigerian air flight landed at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. The aviation minister, Adi Sirika, confirmed the arrival officially at an event in Abuja where he acknowledged that the journey has been a very long, tedious, daunting, and difficult path. The development is part of plans to commence operations and unveiling of the delivery process after years of delays. In March, Mr. Sirika has said the airline will start operations before the end of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. Tonight, a few issues for us to deal with. I have a special guest on the program, the governor of Anambra State, Governor Chukwuma Soludo, will be my guest tonight on the program from Anambra State, and we shall be discussing several issues. And also, later on, after the conversation with him, Senator Smart Adeyemi will also be joining me, and we shall be discussing the APC, the Tinubu administration, Kogi politics, and a lot of issues. So stand by with me, everyone on the program, and we shall be back after this political roundup.
Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo has been appointed by the Commonwealth Group to lead a team of experts in observing the general elections in Sierra Leone on the 24th of June 2023. The Commonwealth Secretary General Patricia Scotland confirmed that Osinbajo had accepted her request to chair the Commonwealth Observer Group. The Secretary General is said to have constituted the Observer Group upon invitation from the Electoral Commission for Sierra Leone. The Supreme Court has dismissed the suit filed by the People's Democratic Party (PDP) challenging the alleged double nomination of Mr. Kashim Shettima for lacking in merit. Justice Adamu Jauro, who read the judgment, added that the PDP acted as a meddlesome interloper and a busybody, as it is an internal affair of the APC. The court held that the Vice President-elect withdrew his nomination on July 6, 2022, before the elections on February 28, 2023. The court also awarded a sum of 2 million naira against the PDP. The lead counsel to the plaintiff in the suit filed by 5 residents of the Federal Capital Territory seeking to stop the inauguration of Senator Bola Tinubu is threatening to sue the judge presiding over the matter for failing to deliver ruling on the matters before the inauguration date. The counsel to the plaintiff, Mr. Chuks Nwachukwu, made his submission after a registrar of the court announced that the court will not sit owing to the absence of the trial judge, Justice Inyang Ekwo. He described the absence of the trial judge all through the week as an infringement on their fundamental rights to fair hearing, especially as the restriction they're seeking for has a timeline. The River State Governor Nyesom Wike says he will fully support the aspiration of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas and Benjamin Kalu for the leadership of the 10th House of Representatives. Governor Wike, a member of the PDP, says there's no political party that can direct him to work against the 2 aspirants that have been favored by the decision of their party, the All Progressives Congress. The governor gave the assurance of his support when the Joint Task Force, the PRO Abbas and Kalu campaign group, visited him in Port Harcourt.
Everybody knows my position. So, everybody knows my position. I'm going to support you. I'm supporting you fully.
The Ogun State Governor Dakwa Abiodun has announced the dissolution of the State Executive Council in accordance with provision of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He made the announcement in Abeokuta, the state capital, during the last meeting attended by members of the State Executive Council held at the Executive Chamber of the Governor's Office in the state capital. The governor commended the outgoing members for their support, understanding, trust, and belief in his administration as they served the state at different levels diligently, which made the many successes recorded by his administration possible.
I want to thank you for trusting me. I want to thank you for believing in me. I want to thank you for working with me. I want to thank you for serving your state.
Members of the coalition of registered political parties in Ogun State have expressed their confidence in the 3-man state election petition tribunal in a bid for the People's Democratic Party to reclaim its alleged stolen mandate in the March 18 governorship election in the state. At a press briefing in Abeokuta, the state capital, members of the association for the governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Anthony Ojeshino, alleged intimidation and media trial of the candidate of the PDP, Ladi Adebutu, in the ongoing electoral tribunal.
We will continue to give the necessary support before and after victory is achieved.
The coalition of northern groups under the aegis of Northern Youth Forum for Good Governance is appealing to the members of the All Progressives Congress in the 10th National Assembly to support the candidates of the party for the sake of unity and cohesion. The group made the appeal at a news conference in Abuja. According to them, although not all the elected lawmakers are in favor of the party's choice for the principal positions in the 10th Assembly, it is time for the APC members to be united, close ranks, or stand the risk of allowing opposition parties hold sway.
Northern Youth Forum for Good Governance urges the G7 and other members elect to focus on the strength and capacity of Honorable Tajuddin Abbas rather than the fact that the party nominated him. In so doing, the G7 and other members will come to appreciate the party's leadership.
Major General Lincoln Ogunewe, retired, has emerged the flag bearer and governorship candidate of the Action Alliance Party ahead of the governorship election on November 11th in Imo State. The national chairman of the Action Alliance, Kenneth Udeze, presented the governorship candidate to party supporters and delegates as the sole candidate for the position of the flag bearer for the governorship election on November 11th in Imo State after a substitution primary election held in Owerri, the Imo State capital. Addressing party supporters after his emergence, the AA governorship candidate says Imo State needs a leader and governor in his capacity who will reset the state and ensure the security of lives and property.
We are on the drawing board, and very soon we are launching out after today.
Thank you so so much. There you have it. You've been served with your political roundup stories. Now, yesterday, former Central Bank Governor and Governor of Anambra State, Professor Charles Soludo, made a passionate appeal to President Buhari to release Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, who is being in detention for some time now. In an open letter, the governor addressed a letter to President Buhari and expressed these concerns over the continued detention of Nnamdi Kanu and called for his release. The governor emphasized the need for dialogue and reconciliation to address the root causes of the grievances experienced by groups like IPOB. The governor, Professor Chukwuma Soludo, is live with us virtually from Awka, the Anambra State capital. It's good to see you, Governor Soludo. Thanks so much indeed for joining us. I think it's on that note that we'll probably begin the conversation. So when you wrote that letter, do you consider that there is a court process in place and that perhaps may have to take its natural course?
Yeah, thank you very much, Sharon. Thank you for having me, and thank you to the listeners. Yes, first point to make, Sharon, is that letter was actually written late April. If you see the stamp of the acknowledgement on that letter, it was received in the office of the Chief of Staff on the 26th of last month. And yes, on the 26th of April. And the letter was actually dated 20th of April. And so that is for a fact. So it wasn't written yesterday. It's about a month, and exactly a month today that letter was delivered to the office of the Chief of Staff. And what is the message? The message, first of all, is to thank the President and the federal government for the way that they have handled the insurgents, the Boko Haram issue in the Northeast, and also granting amnesty and a rehabilitation program for people involved in the Boko Haram insurgency and so on. Now come to the Southeast. Where Southeast faces some systemic, what I describe as systemic insecurity. And we have this agitation snowballing into today all manner of criminal gangs everywhere in the Southeast profess to be agitators, as it were. And we kind of think, I mean, since I came in as governor, we have faced these criminals head on in various dimensions. IPOB has consistently denied that it's part of the systemic insecurity. Some others attribute them to those, and then they deny. But we think it is time now, even though we've made substantial progress in terms of addressing, dealing with the criminals, because we have zero tolerance for criminality. But there is a bigger part of the reconciliation process, what the security people call the non-kinetic approach, which requires getting all the stakeholders at the table, around the table, to discuss the way forward and the future of security, peace, and development in the Southeast. And I'm convinced that Nnamdi Kanu, hate or love him, or agree with him, disagree with him, has become an important stakeholder in that conversation, giving as well what his own people are doing or not doing. And we need to have him around the table for that conversation. So we made that point about security, long-term security, sustainable security in the Southeast to have all critical stakeholders. The issue of the rule of law is also another basis for our appeal. That there are several court judgments demanding for his release and unconditional release. And at least one of those court judgments has not been challenged up until this moment. Then there is the issue of his health. We read everything, all manner of things, and the new media about his state of health and need for urgent attention. And like I said, also then for compassion. Yes, it's in the courts, but it's been on now for God knows how long. This matter has been in the courts, almost 2 years, getting to 2 years now. And that is a saying that justice delayed is justice denied.
If you want to have this, let's expedite this whole process and conclude it. I couldn't believe that this whole process would have lasted more than a year, for example. You're not getting 2 years, and they still stuck at this lower bit, and then the courts asking for him to be released. Release him. And I said, okay. The second bit is if, because of the ongoing court processes, you can't release him unconditionally as ordered by the courts, because you have appealed one of the judgments. And I'm saying, for some other compassionate for us to achieve the other objectives, hand him over to me. We will keep him. When you need him, we'll release him, we'll bring him to you. I will be the shorty. I'm prepared to do that. So we can start off the process of the healing and the systematic solution of the long-term security and development challenges in the Southeast. So that's what this letter is about.
Yeah. So if the President Buhari just have a few days left under his belt to be in office, and there will be another government, and I mean, if it doesn't look like President Buhari has reacted to your letter in any way, if that doesn't happen until Monday, would you be speaking directly with the a new administration to be led by Bola Tinubu that would be sworn in on Monday? Is that a possibility?
Well, this is a cause that one believes in consistently. I'm an advocate for rule of law and justice for all. And therefore, if you look at that letter is copied to the president-elect. Okay, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He is in the copy of this letter. And I want to believe that a copy has also been delivered to his office, as it were. The Attorney General is also copied on this letter. And if the President Buhari's administration fails to take advantage of this particular, I call it an opportunity to really rise above every other thing and be a statesman, as it were. If the president fails to, take advantage of that, we will be pursuing the same thing with the incoming administration.
Dr. Soludo, so my question now will be, those who are asking, what is your own interest in seeking for Nnamdi Kanu's release?
Our own interest is simple: peace and security. Long-term, medium to long-term sustainable peace and security and development of the Southeast.
And you think that Nnamdi Kanu continue detention is linked to insecurity in the Southeast? For example, the attack on some of the staff and the killing a few days ago of some police officers attached to the U.S. Embassy staff in your state. There was also a similar kind of killing in September of last year of Senator Ifeanyi Uba's convoy, and some police officers also killed. Are this kind of criminality or this kind of incident linked to the activities or the kind of situation you are pleading for?
Well, that's part of it, Sheung, and coming down to those, I made a point. First and foremost, you recognize that every Monday now in the entire Southeast, there is this notorious sit at home. And his supporters declared this sit at home as a way to press for his release. And this has persisted. We lose humongously in economic terms. The cost is huge. And on the federal, without due respect, we can't shoot everywhere at everybody. That has not been able to stop, with humongous costs to the Southeast, economically, socially, security-wise. Like I said, every criminal gang now in the bush claims to be either freedom fighters or to be supporters of Nnamdi Kanu. And they are saying, so we need him out to be able to separate the substance from the chaff. So he'll be able to tell us who are his own people and be able to rein in his own people. And then so we can then isolate the criminals and face them head on.
So, Governor Soludo, let me quickly ask you. This incident about the U.S. Staff and the police that were killed, U.S. came out a day ago or 2 days ago saying that none of U.S. citizens were killed, but saying that they are still looking at the situation. As the Chief Security Officer of the state, what can you tell us? Who are those behind these dastardly acts?
Yes, I can tell you with clarity that the investigation is ongoing. But like you said, we have zero tolerance for this kind of criminality. Some of the commanders, those involved in that, I think a few of them have been killed within days. 2 days after that incident. Within 2 days after that incident, some of them were killed. In fact, some of the, we understand, very deadly one was actually killed. And as we speak now, yesterday, the actual leader of the mastermind of that particular gang has been arrested. And he's here with us. It doesn't really matter whether, all lives are the same, whether it's a life of an American citizen, or the life of an American citizen is not superior to the life of any other human being. Every human being has a right to life. And whether it's of any cadre, status, nationality also. We send our condolences to the American embassy, whose staff of various forms, including security agencies, the police, died in the process. We did raise an issue about the way and manner of the visiting team that, they largely bypassed the local security structure here. And we thought that that particular incident was largely avoidable. But all I can say to you is that now that we've arrested the mastermind, the leader of the gang, the investigation is ongoing.
All right.
And as day follows night, we will get to the bottom of it and deal with it decisively, as we have been doing this year and 2 months. And that level of insecurity in Anambra has come down. This is a very unfortunate incident. Anambra is unarguably one of the safest states today in Nigeria. People are flooded into Anambra. The international community is here. The investors are here. And people are just going about their business. But every now and again, you'll find these lone wolves come out and inflict one thing or the other and try to run away. But every time they have come, Odumodu, the very deadly one that operates from Imo State, and the day he made incursion into Anambra with all his grenades and amulets and his gang, they were all gone down, as it were. So we have zero tolerance for this. Criminality has no place in Anambra State.
Governor Soludo, let me quickly ask, you have faced some kind of obstacle in your way of achieving the Soludo solution. Security is one of such obstacles. You've spent over a year in office now, issues of flooding, and I know the topography of some southeast states and how difficult the issue of ecological issue is in your region. These are tough things. Are these kind of things bothering you, and perhaps things that you think that the federal government can come to your aid for?
Multi-barrel question. The Soludo solution agenda, the 5 fingers of the Soludo solution agenda are on course. I would say no excuses whatsoever. The challenges are there. We knew that there would be challenges. In my manifesto, we identify the ecological challenges. We identify the environment as the #1 existential threat for Anambra. And the flooding, on the one hand, that could take on half of this land of the state year on year. Then the erosion, gully erosion. Anambra is the gully erosion capital of the world. So we know that, and that's why one of the key, what I call the 5 fingers of the Soludo solution agenda, is the environment towards a clean, green, planned, and sustainable Anambra. And we've launched a massive program on this. Yes, the environment is very excruciating. The federal government obviously weigh the challenges hugely beyond the resources of the state. to deal with. And that is why we're seeking partnership with the federal government, with the international community, with the private sector, with the people themselves. Last year, we faced these humongous challenges, but we were able to, our coping mechanism was adjudged to be decisive and effective. For us, our agenda is an agenda with a deadline. No excuses, challenges are there. Even last year, even in spite of the paucity of resources, State Assembly approved for us to borrow some 100 billion. As of today, we still have not borrowed a penny of that. But our agenda is largely in course, be it in the area of security, law, and order, be it in the area of infrastructure and economic transformation. On infrastructure, we are now up and running at about 300 kilometers of roads construction going on simultaneously all over the state. Our third bit of human capital, which is our greatest wealth, our greatest asset, human capital of health and education, is it on governance and transforming the way government works and bringing technology to bear, or of course I've mentioned the environment. We are on course largely in spite of the humongous challenges. And I want to believe that in months and 1-2 years to come, I wouldn't want to say much.
All right.
Because we believe in action. Yeah.
Let me quickly, Governor Soludo, you were there at the commissioning of the second Niger Bridge. I mean, you being a former CBN governor, now a governor of one of the southeastern states that will be benefiting from that infrastructure. I mean, would you refer to that as perhaps federal government's biggest presence in that region as of today?
Yes, obviously, without a question. And I had to make efforts to be there personally for the commissioning of that bridge because for us, it's a major game changer. And in fact, I had to excuse myself from the commissioning of Dangote's refinery because my flight schedule was going to make it impossible for me to be there. And I had to cancel to be there personally. It's a very important project, and we're eternally grateful to President Buhari for delivering on that agenda. As I said on that day, the people of the Southeast have cried, we have agitated, we have complained, we have, in every respect, tried over 5 key infrastructure, fundamental infrastructure provision that will change things in the Southeast. The number one of it happened to be dredging, 3 dredging projects that need to be executed to get Southeast have access to the Atlantic Ocean in terms of access to the sea with regards to shipping and so on, port services. Number 2 was the second Niger Bridge. Number 3 is the highway which the federal government began but abandoned from Anambra to Lokoja, that when that highway is done, actually, from Anambra here to Abuja, you could be in about 3 hours or less. Then number 4 is a gas pipeline, around the Southeast. We have huge gas deposits here, but we are bypassed by the national gas pipelines ongoing. And the last one, of course, is the rail line. So the rail infrastructure that the federal government is also doing, connecting some other parts of the country, but Southeast is largely bypassed. And so these are the 5 areas, major infrastructural things we thought the federal government would have been able to help us kickstart. But we are now eternally grateful, at least 1 out of 5, that we were able to assemble a few days ago at the Asaba, and to have the president, it was a promise made, a promise kept. And federal government also named the bridge, I think when the Minister of Works and Housing, my friend Governor Fashola was speaking, he did pronounce that the federal government has named it Muhammadu Buhari Second Niger Bridge. For us, it's a game changer, and it will decongest traffic creates a twin city between Asaba and Onitsha. And I mean, the economic benefits or socio-economic benefits of this is just so humongous. So we're grateful.
Yeah. So, Governor Soludo, I'm due for a commercial break, but just in like about 40 seconds, it's a difficult thing to ask an economic expert to speak about the economy in 40 seconds, but I would like your indulgence in this. Economy will be a major area that the Bola Tinubu government will have to deal with. Security is also another issue. But because you're an expert in the economy, and you can give him a free expert opinion tonight, courtesy the fact that I'd invited you, and as a very good friend, you might be able to offer that for free. I know your consultancy doesn't go for free, but I will extract that for free for you. What would you be telling Bola Tinubu to look out for to make sure that it gets things working in terms of the economy?
Well, thank you very much. I know, Shehu, I always, you will never finish this interview without trying to, go around some of those. When you start off being your friend and so on, I know that something is coming.
Is that okay? Yeah.
I know that. But let me say this to you. I think on Monday, our new president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, will be sworn in. I saw his manifesto. I saw the agenda and what he's proposing, the overall direction of where he's going to go. And I think it's not to begin to discuss them one by one and so on. I think in broad terms, broadly speaking, his agenda is in the right direction. That's the path that we must try. I think elections are over, governance kicking in. And for example, here in my state today, I signed an MOU with UNDP for a 5-year partnership program that they're providing. And so I believe that similarly, the government at the center would need, the new government of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will need all the partnerships that it can get. Partnerships with the states, the state governments, restructuring of the country, getting the fiscal space restructured on a more sustainable path, getting the monetary policy exchange rate on track, getting petroleum pricing and so on, and energy pricing, rationalized and streamlined to be more sustainable. And importantly, healing. I think the 2 key agenda items that he has. Number 1, healing the country. And 2, the transformation agenda. Realizing that the transformation agenda, both items, both healing and transformation, happen to constitute an agenda with a deadline.
All right.
From Monday, he has 4 years and got to run at the speed of 1,000 kilometers an hour. But all generally, what I have read, what I have seen in terms of the thrust of his policies is that if we all work together in partnership with the international community, and like I said, here in Anambra, we just opened the UN building today and signed an MOU with the United Nations. And similar kinds of partnership will be required with the international community and so on at the federal level.
Governor,
these partnerships, I think the country will be on.
Let me run to a break. I just have one more question for you. Senator Smart Adeyemi is here with me in our Abuja studio. We'll be talking about some other issues with him. But I'll come back for my closing moment with Governor Chukwuma Soludo, who has been with us on the program tonight. Stay with me, everyone. Much more conversations after this break. Everyone, our closing moment with Governor Chukwuma Soludo, the governor of Anambra State. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for your time tonight. You are the APGA national leader. You have elections in Bayelsa, in Kogi, and in Imo State, and I guess that your party is on the ballot in those states. But on a final note, give me an understanding of how you feel or what happens to you now, because you have an analytical mind. Before the election, your permutation about this election was that the election might not be in favor of your brother, Peter Obi. But do you feel like you said so now because your forecast was not in his favor?
I don't think there's nothing you do now to drag me into that controversy. But I think that's in the past. The election has come and gone, and what we said, yes, happened. That's for another day. I think in the fullness of time, I wrote my piece for the history, and I think that's for another day. When that piece will come back, we get to discuss that. But let me say this to you. Now you refer to us as, my current role as the national leader of APGA and All Progressives Grand Alliance. Our focus as a political party is the greatness of Nigeria. One big, united, prosperous country, Nigeria. And always we are growing organically all over. We've won elections, and the last one in the north, in the southeast, south, and so on. And we are, of course, the party is strong here in Anambra State, but despite everything, we still won the absolute majority of the State House of Assembly. And so Anambra is APGA and APGA is Anambra. That's without a question. We're deeply deep-rooted here. But then I want to say to you at a national level, the only thing I say is that APGA, as the Grand Alliance of Progressives, focusing on Nigeria, our policy over the years, over these past 20 years or so, has gone to systematically, well, not all the 20 years, I think in the last 10, 15 years, has gone to systematically work and collaborate with the governing party at the center. And therefore, when it was PDP at the center, our party collaborated with the governing thing at the center, since we are not there at the presidency. Even currently, we collaborate actively with the federal government. And the next government to come, we will collaborate actively. And you'll see that APGA, even though we had a presidential candidate, we're not challenging the election. And ours is trying to forge, we think Nigeria will begin to heal and will begin to move the country forward. Because the lives and future of the 225 million Nigerians happen to be at stake. And our party is committed to their peace, security, and economic prosperity.
Thank you so much, Governor Soludo. If you and I are left alone, we could do 3 hours of conversation, talking policy and other issues like this. Come so easy for you. And you've got some baritone voice that is also very sweet to listen to. Thank you so much. It's always a delight speaking with you. Thank you so much, Governor Charles Soludo, the governor of Anambra State.
Thank you. Always a pleasure, Shane. Thanks very much for having me.
I appreciate it. Yes.
Thank you.
Let's turn our attention to what is happening in the APC and the present state of things. There's one man that has spoken, and when I saw the video, I said, well a minute. What is Senator Smart Adeyemi talking about here? You know that he's always speaking his mind, but this is one thing that he said that drew my attention, and that's why I extended the invitation to him. Take a listen to what Senator Smart Adeyemi said.
Those who told you they are bringing new currency, where is the new currency now? MFFA should explain to Nigerians how much was expended in the few millions you brought to print this new currency. Don't forget the Minister of Finance said she was not aware that there was a plan to print new currency. So the new currency gimmick was a master plan of PDP and CBN. Don't forget that the CBN governor, MFLA, and Okowa, they are cousin brothers from the same area. So they want to sing Nigerian nation. So as we are celebrating that we have a new president coming, we will not forget those who try to destroy our nation.
All right. Senator Smart Adeyemi has joined me right here in the studio. Federal lawmaker representing Kogi State in the Senate. and governorship aspirant in Kogi State under the APC. Thanks so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
You are asking Bola Tinubu not to forget. Well, but he's won the election. Why do you think he should go back and look at those things that were obstacle in his ways?
Well, like I said yesterday in the course of my addressing some of our colleagues in the media, I did say that we have every reason to celebrate now. We are happy that we have a highly promising man who will re-resurrect Nigeria in many aspects of life. A man who is visionary, the strength of character and intelligence. So we're happy. But having said so, we must look at how we started. You know, during the campaign, there was a moment or a period when people thought it was all over for Nigeria. We have forgotten that anarchy was already setting in. People were already attacking some banks. Are you aware so many poor people died? Are you aware that those who deal in perishable items, goods, the poor woman who sells transport bananas from the south to the north, some of them got their stock perished. Some of them died in the process. The man who moved livestock from the north to the south, some of them couldn't move beyond Jeba. They got stuck. Their goods perished. Some of them died. Now, you see, we must not forget that God created the poor and the rich. So if there was a situation where majority of the poor died, some of us have a moral responsibility to raise issues.
So you're saying that Bola Tinubu should not forget this?
Yeah, we shouldn't forget because we're told.
What would you like him to do?
The calculated attempt then was to stop the APC from winning. Now that we have won, in order not to allow a real occurrence, we were told that they're going to redesign or they have redesigned the Naira. They redesigned the Naira, but where are the new notes that have been redesigned? Gradually, they're off circulation. So if the judiciary had kept quiet, the implication would have been that Nigeria would have gone into chaos. And you and I may not be here to be talking. So we shouldn't forget because some of us, we keep history and we monitor what happens in the country. As a legislator, I have a responsibility to make laws and to raise issues that will affect the well-being of Nigerians. Now, those who planned the redesigning of the Naira note were told that in 2 weeks, at that time, there'd be enough new Naira design notes that will circulate. But months after the judiciary, the judgment of the Supreme Court, up to now, the so-called redesign note are disappearing.
If you were Bola Tinubu, when you assume office, what would you do?
I will call on Emefiele and others to come and explain what happened and what was the reason behind the redesigning of the Naira note. There was it was not discussed at the national.
But it was approved by the president, Muhammad Buhari.
Well, that is what we have been told. So we have to know.
The president himself said
it depends on the.
He made a nationwide address on that.
That will not be enough if mistakes were made. That will keep quiet. If it was a mistake, it was a mispresentation to the president, he will sign it. We must know what happened. People die in that period. You know, people develop a stroke because they couldn't have access to their money. And because you and I survived, we should not care about those who died, not their making. Now we are happy we have a new president. But don't forget that some people died. Some people were forced to die, so to speak. The situation at that time, that policy killed some people innocently.
Your ambition to becoming governor of Kogi State, is it gone?
Far from it. In fact, the struggle is just gathering momentum. We're in court, and I wouldn't want to talk about the issue because it's before a competent court of law. And I will just summarize by telling you that the court is not just a court of law, but a court of justice and a court of reasoning. And I'm not in that we have judges of high integrity who will dispense justice without looking at who is involved. So I'm not afraid.
So you've exercised all possible internal mechanisms.
Well, we went to the appeal committee. They were saying that we didn't pay our dues, but they forgot that we actually paid special dues before we bought the form of over 50 million. But like I said, the case is before a competent court of law. And I wouldn't want to go into details as to the issues that we have raised, but I'm not in doubt that justice will be done.
You know the body language of the governor of your state, who was your benefactor, who bequeathed a ticket for you to be in the Senate. I mean, you consider it may be a betrayal of trust if you're pursuing in this line? Does it look like you're fighting head-on Yaya Bello in this?
I'm not fighting Yaya Bello. I'm fighting the system. What made it impossible for us to have a free and fair election? Like I said, this case is in court. So let us wait and await the judgment. We are going back on the 15th of this month, and the struggle is still on. And don't forget that I am a marathon runner. You know, I'm ready to pursue it to the highest court of the land. So there's no cause to fear. My conscience is so clear that all the issues I raised in the petitions are very valid.
What do you make of what Nigerians should expect from a Tinubu administration?
Well, I think in Tinubu, there's a brighter hope for Nigeria. Today, Tinubu personified the struggle for the enthronement of democracy. Don't forget that Tinubu was one of those who gave serious support to the struggle. And we are happy that Tinubu, as emerged as the president, is a man who is highly visionary, highly enterprising. Tinubu is a highly courageous man. If he's not courageous, the time they came up with this new designing of the Naira and fuel scarcity, you probably have given up or long before now. So in Tinubu, we expect to see a new Nigeria. A Nigeria that will guarantee justice, fairness, equity.
Senator Kashim Shettima said it won't be rosy. I mean, today, the President Muhammadu Buhari led President-elect Bola Tinubu on a brief tour on the parts of the presidential villa. Those are some of the pictures of what came about. They had both observed the Friday prayers in the presidential villa mosque before embarking on a tour of some departments. The president led the president-elect through the council chamber and exited at the press gallery where State House correspondent were waiting to ask him questions in preparations for them assuming into the domestic areas, the living area, and of course the offices. Well, the same thing with Kashim Shettima and Professor Yemi Oshibajo. But Senator Kashim Shettima said, look, it won't be rosy. It might be rocky in the very first few starts.
Very well.
There's a lot of Nigerians need to have their expectations properly managed. The nation and the country is in dire strait. There are a lot of things that are not working. Now, I mean, the way you're describing Bola Tinubu as though he has a magic wand.
It's not a question of having a magic wand. The fact is, he's a highly visionary man. And I'm not in doubt that he's going to diversify the economy. What we need now is to diversify the economy, look at other sources that will create wealth for our nation. He came to Kogi in the course of the campaign, and he did talk about the solid mineral resources in Nigeria with over 32 solid minerals in commercial quantity. Kogi has about 27 of them. And he did mention about it. Iron and steel complex that will have been yielding foreign reserve for Nigeria has been abandoned, neglected. He talked about it. So this is a man who is well abreast about the challenges of Nigeria. Kashim Shettima is an agroeconomist expert. Just looking at his record of service.
Former banker?
Former banker, looking at his record of service in Borno State. So it's a good combination. So you heard there could be challenges, but the fact is that this is a man with tenacity of purpose.
You have high hopes of them.
Because they have tenacity.
They promise renewed hope.
They have tenacity.
But things are so very terrible and so bad at the moment that, I mean, the economy is in trouble right now.
Ashiwaju and Shettima.
Security, I mean, infrastructure. A lot of people will say they've done very well in that area.
Infrastructure, yes.
Yeah, but I mean, things are really tough at the moment for a lot of Nigerians.
But you see, the two of them are here for a time like this. Ashiwaju is president for Nigeria at this time, and it pleases God to make it so. We need somebody who will galvanize the economy. We need somebody who is well abreast with business, global business. You know, so you need somebody like Ashiwaju and Shettima who will diversify the economy to meet the need and the aspiration of Nigeria, that will help to galvanize socio-economic development, create wealth, empower the people, create job opportunities. These are the people we need now.
Would you, do you think rather that the nationals and the 10th National Assembly leadership crisis, the controversy, could be Bola Tinubu's first major political test?
I think you should appreciate that Ashiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a politician. He is a politician of note. In fact, he is a textbook as far as politics concern Nigeria. So all these issues that people talked about, in another 1 or 2 weeks, by the time the new assembly is constituted, things will take shape because is a man who's well grounded.
There's a lot of agitation.
He was
the likes of Senator Yari against the run of play. We understand has more than 60 senators queuing behind him across the party lines.
You see, 24 hours is a long time in politics. Asiwaju was a former senator. Shetima is senator. Asiwaju's wife, Mrs. Tinubu, she's equally a politician and a senator.
There are a lot of people who said if, for example, in the House, Yari is threatening and is gathering momentum, and in fact, there are those who believe that, in fact, as it is right now, Akpabio's support is dwindling in favor of, now Yari is getting a lot of traction. And there are those who believe that if they go into an election in the House, the likes of Yusuf Gagdi or Betara would defeat the likes of Tajuddin.
Well, what I'm just...
And that is against the stand of the APC, which they say that is what Bola Tinubu and Kashim Shettima has agreed to.
Well, you must understand that Asiwaju is a Democrat. It's going to allow people to see reason if that is his position. And superior position, superior argument will prevail. Asiwaju will not impose people. He could persuade people. He could let you see reason. But even as it is today, I have not had Asiwaju coming out to say, this is my candidate. So 24 hours is still a long period.
People from your region, the North Central, are not happy that they are not in the scheme of things. And this agitation is growing. Should we see the Saraki Dogara situation playing out, how hurtful would it be for Bola Tinubu's administration politically?
Again, Asiwaju is not President Buhari. President Buhari is not a grounded politician, so to speak. Asiwaju has been in politics for decades. So when the time comes, they will navigate themselves. It is too early to assume that this will lead to a crisis. And like I said...
It's already a crisis.
Like I said, 24 hours. Within 24 hours, all these issues can be resolved.
All right. Senator Smart, a federal lawmaker representing Kogi West in the National Assembly, a member of the APC. Thank you so much indeed.
It's my pleasure.
And the man that is not losing hope as far as Kogi governorship aspiration is concerned. I wish you the very best.
Tenacity. Thank you so much.
That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sheon Wakimale. I'll see you on Sunday at 8 p.m. Bye for now.